Morning. Today we're on day 107, 107 day. The brain believes what you practice. Your brain believes what you practice. The verse today is train yourself to be godly. Train yourself to be godly. The full verse is in 1 Timothy 4:7. Have nothing to do with godlessness, myths, and old wives' tales. Rather than train yourself to be godly. Doesn't mean to train yourself to be a god, and you notice that is a little g, not a big G. You're not trying to be a god, you're trying to do godly practices. God helped me to see that what I practice is shaping me. Your life is being formed by what you rehearse. Your life is being formed by what you do every single day. Your life is being formed by the routines that you make, your thoughts, your reactions, your words, and your habits. Your practice consistently do not stay small. They become your default setting. When we think about a default setting, it is something that happens without you changing it. Sometimes on the computer you'll have, let's say the font default setting is a font called Arial. So every time you open up that that processor, that word thing, it's going to start, you start typing, it's going to start with an Arial font because that is the default setting. What is the default setting for you? When you wake up every morning and you are who you have been for the last however long, what is your default setting? And I promise you, our seasons that we have in our life have different default settings. Like your default setting when you were in first grade, when your mom woke you up and your mom told you what to wear and your mom fed you and made sure you were okay. Your default setting was just to exist and do what you're told. Now that you're an adult, when you think about your default setting, what are those things? We do the routine every morning, at least for the last 107 days, right? But what is your default when you get upset, when emotions get high? What is your default when you're happy? What is your default when you meet your spouse for every single morning for the first time? We have these things and the routines that we put into place that allow us to become or allow us to be the person that we are. So what we want to do is we want to interrupt some of those defaults. Well, what if I go in and change my font from Arial to Georgia? Or what if I go in and change it so that it is at 17.5 instead of at 12.5? Well, those defaults that are in your brain. So a person who practices calming truth in stressful moments becomes more stable over time. Now, one of the things I want to bring up in that, which is really kind of cool, you think about a person who practices calming truth in stressful moments. That means you have to have stressful moments in order to practice calming truth. So God's not telling us that we're not going to be stressed. God's not telling us that we're not going to have moments of discord or moments of uncomfortableness. All right, I show up even when I'm uncomfortable because that gives us the opportunity to practice. If we think about it, it gives you the opportunity to practice being calm in those stressful moments and figure out how to move that needle from your emotions back to your intelligence. Remember, emotions high, intelligence low? And we want to move that needle back. That's what we've been talking about almost every single day this week. And so when you think about stress moments become more stable over time than someone who's only reacts to truth during crisis. What is your default setting during stress or crisis? I used to think that change came mostly through inspiration. Hey, I could change so I could go to an event or I could see somebody on television or I could be inspired by somebody else's momentum and that would be enough. A good message, a powerful moment, a fresh breakthrough. And thank God for those moments because they do lift me up. They do help me to move forward. They do help you to move forward. But over time, what I've learned is that what really shaped me was not the occasional high point. It was what I practiced in the ordinary. The routines that I did, how I got up, how I showed up, how I talked to myself after a disappointment. So many times, especially when you're working with athletes and you're coaching people in business or you're working with folks and something doesn't go right. I had a disappointment this last week where, a whole bunch of speakers that were supposed to speak at my event tomorrow have decided to back out. That is a disappointing moment. And how I show up today with that going on is something because I practiced over time. What I did was when stress hit, whether I paused or prayed or spiraled and reacted, that is where formation was happening. I started realizing that my brain was leading or learning from every day. My brain was learning from every day. It was learning what to expect, how to respond, and where to go first. That made me take practice seriously. I stopped waiting for perfect emotional moments and started training my responses in small places. And that is when the charge got real, right? That's when the change got real. That's when I realized, wait a minute, if I can do these things in small increments, when I can practice when just somebody pulls over in front of me. I used to get so angry when somebody would pull in front of me. Now I'm waving, hey man, I guess that guy's got to get to the hospital because he must have a pregnant wife that's getting ready to deliver a baby. Or sometimes it's just malicious, it's just me, but it doesn't affect me the same way that it used to. And the insight here and how our brain works is the brain is efficient. It wants to automate everything. It wants to automate frequency. It wants to use patterns. So you don't have to think through everything from scratch. If we did, imagine how cluttered or tired we'd be every single day if we didn't have automatic responses. And this is why practice responses becomes default, because that is our brain's way of automating our life. And so over time, repeated ways of thinking and reacting become more accessible and easier to act. This is related to what we call habit circuitry. Habit circuitry and procedural learning. I'll go ahead and I'll bold these so you can see them. But this is literally what our brain does. It creates habits. The circuits in our brain attach them, the dendrites attach themselves to each other, and they create these patterns that make sure that we can be automated. And so it's just procedural learning. The more often you practice calm, truth, pause, and intentional response, the more available those patterns become under pressure. The more that we do our affirmations, and why they're so important every single day to do is because those show up every single day. I show up when I'm uncomfortable. It's one of those affirmations. Oh my gosh, you think of some of the ones that we have been doing. I expect everything to work because that is the person that I become. I keep the promises that I make for myself. All these things come up because we practice them every single day as we do this routine. You are becoming what you practice. And so let's make sure we practice with the results that we want. Because if you do practice the things that aren't good for you, they become who you are as well. Your brain's going to automate whatever you tell it to automate. You just have to be cognizant of making sure that you're automating the things that are going to make a difference. What mental or emotional responses have you been rehearsing most lately? So choose one life-giving response to practice today. Pause, breathe, pray, speak, truth, or redirect. Whatever it is, what are you going to practice? Father, help me to practice what leads to peace, wisdom, and strength. Father, help me to practice what leads to peace, wisdom. We'll say amen to that, right? Listen, you made your daily practice, may the things you do daily shape your mind that is steady, clear, and in line with truth. Oh man, what a good message that we had today. And because we're sitting here doing it, because you're with me as we're doing it, you are part of a practice that's making a huge difference in your life. I'm going to put these 3 questions in our chat today so that you will have them, so that you can ponder on them and so we can go through them together. Do you believe daily practices shapes who you become? Well, if you're listening to this for the first time, I promise you, let's go back and let's do all of them. But if you've been doing this with me for 107 days, I promise you can tell a difference in your life. What healthy responses do you want to practice more often? Always something to ponder on. What healthy responses do you want to practice more often? Oh, the hard part about that is in order to practice those, you have to make sure that you're not going to make sure. Life is going to make sure you're in those situations that will afford you to practice those things. And what do you think small practices? Why do you think small practice matter so much, my friend? And that is just because the better you get at diffusing and making connections that work, the better you are at serving others. All right, let's go into our